Damei was a disciple of Matsu. And Matsu was one of the most influential Zen teachers in the Tang Dynasty, and throughout the history of Zen is recognized as one of the towering figures of our tradition. So Damei went and asked Matsu, "What is Buddha?" You have that question? Maybe not. No. Damei had it, and I don't think he was asking about Shakyamuni Buddha. Like the historical Buddha, what was he like? He was asking about his own path. He was asking about what it means to awaken, what liberation from suffering is, how to enact this liberation with wisdom and compassion. So I think just from the question you have to assume that he felt somewhat separate from Buddha. It was something that wasn't quite what he was. So he was asking about it. Matsu said, "This very mind is Buddha." Or sometimes it's translated as, "This mind itself is Buddha." Or I like to say, "This mind here now is Buddha." This here now mind is Buddha. Well, I think Matsu is offering Damei and us a couple of things right away, off the bat. He's saying Buddha is not something over there. Awakening is not something over there that you have to get to. It's not something outside of your own mind. And then in addition, I think he's, by saying this very mind here now, this here now mind is, he's saying that this mind is also not elsewhere, it is exactly here now. So just from this intervention, it becomes clear that Buddha is, if it is to be found, what Buddha is, it is to be found here now as your own mind. Now Dogen picks up this phrase, and he doesn't tell the story of Damei and Matsu. It's like assuming, I guess, that everybody who reads his commentary knows about the story. But he says, this very mind is Buddha, or this mind itself is Buddha, has been maintained by Buddhas and ancestors throughout as a true expression, we could maybe say, of the way. And then he says, but, well, I'll try to get this right, so I brought the text. Because it's funny. It's kind of funny. Since many students misunderstand it, Many students misunderstand this saying. They do not make a mistake of a mistake. And because they do not make a mistake of a mistake, many drop into other paths. And this phrase, to make a mistake of a mistake, is kind of like it's like a Japanese saying. Sometimes it means to make one mistake after another. And there's this, like, one translation in English is, the life of a Zen master is one mistake after another. One continuous mistake, as Suzuki Roshi said. But there's another meaning, which I think is very interesting. There's another meaning of making a mistake of a mistake, is when you make a mistake, you learn from it. And the result of your learning, so it seems, is another mistake. And the result of that mistake is another learning that results in another mistake. But so you're always making mistakes. You're never arriving, but you're always learning. So Dogen seems to be saying here, these students who misunderstand it, they don't even learn from their mistakes in misinterpreting this phrase, and so they're not really Buddhists. They fall into other paths. They make errors about this statement. And he identifies two errors, which I want to share with you. The first error is to just take the ordinary functioning of the mind, thinking, feeling, perceiving, to be Buddha. But then there's nothing to do. You don't need to practice. Like your discursive mind that you find in your zazen, right, is already Buddha. This mind, here now, this very mind, is Buddha. So, why are you here? And so if somebody's not really interested in practicing, they might take that view and say, I'm fine. I'm Buddha already. No problem. Now, as an idea, it kind of works. It's also very comforting. It's like when you take the view that there's nothing wrong with me the way I am, right? But it's just a thought. See? I think Ram Dass said, was it Ram Dass who said, if you think you're enlightened, go visit your mother. That's the point, right? It's like if you say I'm already Buddha, just with the ordinary functions of my mind, then why are you having issues in your life? How do you reconcile that? And if you don't have any issues because you have too much money and you live like this comfortable life, it's like, go visit your mother. Or your wife or husband, Right, so this is one error. Suzuki Roshi does, I think, a cool number on it. This is an often quoted phrase of his. He says, all of you are already Buddhas just as you are. And there's room for improvement. So he's taking up the first view, this mistake, right? It's like, I'm already Buddha. And he's affirming this. You are already Buddhas just the way you are. But it's incomplete. It's only complete when you recognize that there's room for improvement. So practice does come into it. Otherwise, it's a misunderstanding. But, we shouldn't just push it away, there is some truth to this, right? There's some truth to the fact that we are actually okay the way we are. If you don't feel that you are already Buddha just as you are, then you've created a split in yourself. And many of us do this. You walk around with this persistent inner critic who tells you that you're not good enough. Or you feel that you don't deserve, to be in this world. That you can only really be accepted into this world when you improve. So, even in the error, there's some truth. It's half the truth. You are already okay just as you are. And yet, Dogen flags it as, this is just ordinary people misunderstanding the statement. Okay, then there's error number 2. And he makes a really big deal out of this. So, he's bringing, he's doing theater now. It's like he's bringing in this person called Shrenika, who was an Indian master, who is quoted in some sutra, and I'll read it to you. And he says, Shrenika, who lived in India, was one of those outside the way. In other words, he was not a Buddhist. He sort of pretended he was a Buddhist, and many people fell for his theory, his worldview, but according to Dogen, he was outside the way. And what did this fellow believe? He said, Shrenika, Dogen is synthesizing this worldview, and he says, the great road lies within this body right now. How it works is easy to know. The soul, some kind of eternal, everlasting consciousness, right? The soul discerns pain and pleasure, cold and heat, aching and itching. It is not obstructed by things, and it is not concerned with objects. While things come and go and objects are born and perish, the soul exists without changing. It pervades all sentient beings, both ordinary and sacred. Although there are flowers of emptiness, that's a common image for delusion, although there are flowers of emptiness which are false reality, delusion, as soon as an embracing wisdom appears even for a moment, things disappear and objects perish. The soul, the original nature alone, is clearly permanent. When the body is broken, the soul comes out of it unbroken. It is just like the owner of a house on fire who comes out of it safely. In other words, it persists beyond bodily death. What is luminous is called the nature of an awakened or wise person, a Buddha. So here now, Buddha is equated with this permanent, indestructible soul. This is awakening. Self and other equally possess this nature. Both enlightenment and delusion are connected with it. Whatever things or objects may be, the soul is different from them and is unchanged for eons. The objects that exist right now are real only if the soul abides in them. So everything is just like an illusion, only when it is animated by this true self, this soul, then it becomes real. As these objects arise from the soul, the original nature, they are true reality, but they are not permanent. They exist and then disappear. As the soul intuitively knows bright and dark, it is called a knowing spirit. It is also called the true self, the source of awakening, true nature, or true body. To realize such a true nature is described as returning to permanence. This soul is called a great being that returns to reality. After such realization, the soul does not transmigrate in birth and death. It enters the ocean of the true nature of no birth and death. There is no reality other than this. Okay, this is Shrenika, according to Dogen. It's funny for me to read this. It's like it is so emphatic. Like, I just don't have big feelings like this. It's like this soul and this everlasting being, and the world is just illusion, and it really is an Advaita Vedanta philosophy that he's portraying here. That was common in India. Right? It's exactly what the Buddha rejected. There's an everlasting soul, an Atman, and this Atman is separated delusionally from Brahman, the unified, universal consciousness. And when this Atman, this individualized soul, realizes its own true nature, then it merges back with the divine universal consciousness called Brahman. So, I don't know, you can have various versions of this, I guess. Shakyamuni Buddha was very familiar with this kind of philosophy, right? And his realization was that there was no Atman, there was no self, there was no substantial, everlasting soul that was going to provide real liberation. Okay. Why is Dogen harping on this? Like, why is he making it a problem? Because I guess people during his time, and I think it's today is the same thing, are looking for this kind of worldview and realization as liberation. And it's very, enticing. You escape impermanence, everything is impermanent, ungraspable, and so forth. You escape it by merging with something permanent. And not just merging, you realize that this permanent aspect is already your true nature. It's already part of you. It's not even that you need to construct it in some way. You need to just let go of the delusion of who you are, and then you find who you really are, which is something permanent, indestructible, even existing beyond death. So the Buddhist view, in comparison, is not attractive. It's not, because it's saying there isn't anything permanent for you to take refuge in. I mean, maybe you want to go somewhere else, get a more permanent resolution to your search for awakening. I mean, those kinds of teachings abound in various ways, and like one of the most interesting developments there is, for me, is like a contemporary Dutch philosopher. His name is Bernardo Kastrup, and he is a self-declared analytical idealist. So idealism means consciousness is primary and matter is secondary. Consciousness is real, and matter is an outflow of consciousness. Not the other way around, which is the worldview that we are mostly, our culture favors, that matter is primary and consciousness emerges from it. Idealism is turning this exactly the other way around. Consciousness is primary and matter emerges from it. What do you like better? Anyway, Bernardo likes idealism better. And he says, which I think is a very creative move, he says, how do we think of individualized human beings in relationship to the one universal consciousness that is undivided? We should think about it just the way, in psychiatry we think about dissociative identity disorder, DID. Dissociative identity disorder, I think, used to be multiple personality disorder. So within one person, this exists, right? Certain people develop different subjective centers. So they are different people in one body. And these different personalities have to do different things, They dress differently, they have different habits, they, have different jobs. This is quite something. You think you are like a solid, personality somehow, you are, but imagine you, I don't know how the shifts happen exactly, I didn't study this, but you wake up and then you're this other person with a different name, with different preferences. So anyway, Bernardo Kastrup thinks that the universal consciousness differentiates itself into all these different living beings, basically like a multiple personality disorder, right? It's like we're all actually the same universal consciousness, we just have different personalities. That's a creative way to think about it. Anyway, Dogen thinks it's not. It's an error. Now, not that he's right, but again, let me remind you. When we discuss views like this, it's not so much to determine whether they are right or wrong, because all kinds of views are possible. And who knows? I don't know. I don't know about universal consciousness. What it is exactly. Yeah? If somebody, it's equally difficult to know what the physical universe is, physicists know a little bit about it, but it's clear, what is it made out of 75% dark matter? Physicists just slap dark in front of what they don't understand, right? Dark energy, dark matter. It's like most of the universe is actually made of that stuff that we have no clue what it is. So we don't know what the physical reality is, but should we pretend what God or universal divine consciousness is, and that we are? I don't know. I find this all very mysterious. That it's metaphysics. Very mysterious to me. It's like, why? Why do we assume that we could know? So, my take on Buddhism is that it's very pragmatic in the sense that we are interested in alleviating or ending suffering. So, which views contribute to that and which don't? I think Dogen is making this kind of analysis here. It's like, to just say, I'm fine, ordinary consciousness, the way I experience this is already Buddha, that's not helping. Right? Likewise, he seems to say, when you assume a permanent self behind your actual functioning, that's also not helping. Why is it not helping? Now, before we go there, let me just say, just as I said, when you affirm yourself as okay, I'm okay the way I am, that's helpful. But it's not the whole story. Likewise, when you experience an awareness beyond your ordinary cognitive functions, that also is actually an experiential fact. What do I mean by that? Like, let's take our zazen and the pain problem, right? You're sitting and you are in pain. One thing that I always found fascinating, a statement that we could make is like, the body is in pain, but the awareness of the pain is not in pain. The awareness of the pain is not in pain. The awareness of anger is not angry. It's just noticing anger. The awareness of shame is not ashamed. The awareness of shame is just aware of shame. And that does have a liberating quality. I mean, when I talk to you about pain, one of my suggestions is widen out. Don't allow your attentional focus to collapse into that area that is painful. Widen out into a field of awareness in which the pain is just one of the happenings. This is tremendous. This gets you through a whole period of zazen. It also gets you through all kinds of difficulties in life. It's like, you can be very focused on this difficulty and have this feeling like, only if I solve this difficulty, only if this difficulty is resolved, will I be okay. Then you are focused on it, just the way you're focused on the pain in your knee or something. When you widen out, you're like, well, I'm having this kind of difficulty in my life. And together with this widening out and having some distance, some detachment from this difficulty, you realize that you have been having difficulty all your life. The difficulties have just been coming. The solutions have been coming too. And you can relax. You can say like, yeah, life is going to be difficult at times, and at other times it's going to be really enjoyable and blissful. But the error, I think, that Dogen is pointing out is, it's okay, so this widening out, what I call the field, you've heard me speak about this, right? The field of mind, as opposed to the contents of mind, or the focused attention. The field is a function of mind. You can experience it. It is, it's doubtful whether you can say you can experience it. It's like, it is that within which experience occurs. Pain occurs, and within awareness, in the field of awareness, you could say. So the field of awareness is not in pain. There's some function of the mind that is stepping back. Dogen has this phrase, taking the backward step and shining the light within, which is like turning attention around, turning attention to attention itself, which opens it up into the field. Usually attention is always turned outward, like it picks up this and that and this experience and that experience. We're getting really involved and we like something and we don't like something. And if you take a step back from that and you turn attention around toward attention, this, what I call the field, can open up. Right? It's a function of the mind, let's say, right? But do you have to make it into your true nature? Do you have to grasp it as your real self as opposed to this other stuff that's not real? Do you have to turn it into a spiritual essence that survives death? How do you know that? I mean, many people have thought it, so there's some confirmation. If you are inclined to believing it, you get a lot of confirmation, like from Shrenika and folks like that. But if you want to stay just very close to the experience itself, right? It's like, yes, that function of a stepped back mind exists in our experience. And it is instrumental for alleviating suffering. But it is not your permanent essence, and it doesn't say anything about divine consciousness. If you disagree with that, that's okay. I'm just reporting. Sort of. Just reporting that Dogen disagrees. I might too, but I'm withholding that for now. But I find it interesting that in both these errors is a truth. And the truth of it actually leads us to make an error. What is the error? We are reifying something, as it were. Reifying means to make into a thing. You look at your ordinary functioning of mind and you make yourself into that thing called Buddha. You say like, oh yeah, that's Buddha, you know. Or you're looking behind the scenes toward the field of mind and you're making that into a thing, and you're making it into your true self, into the essence of mind. Now you've grasped it. And this is the Buddhist critique. The Buddhist critique would be, in both cases, you're grasping it, you're holding on, you're saying, that's it, I found it. It's not that in the function of accepting yourself truly as you are, or in the function of stepping back, there's something wrong there. The error is in the grasping. So you could say, you know, there's this image of the owner escapes the burning house unscathed. And it's like the owner escapes the burning house unscathed. In error number 1, where you make yourself into a Buddha, you're basically denying that anything is burning. It's like, I'm already Buddha, it's fine, nothing's burning. And in the second, you are taking the position of the owner who is, you know, not susceptible to death and can escape the burning house. So it's actually interesting in this particular fascicle, Dogen he just mostly disagrees with this and doesn't offer much of a solution. Like, he offers a solution a little bit, you know, but not very much. I'll share with you what I think he offers, but... So what is he offering? Like, he says, it's not this and it's not that. Don't make this error and don't make that error. He's saying something like, don't grasp. That's the solution. Don't grasp. What happens when you don't grasp? What is there? What is the solution then? If you want to stay in the image, it would be something like, just be the burning. Burn. 100%. There's no escape. And it's also not true. It's also not true that it's all fine. Suzuki Roshi, has that same image. In Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, he says, burn yourself completely like a good bonfire. Nothing left. Nothing left over. When Dogen says, the mind, to come back to that, the mind is the mountains, rivers, and earth mind is just mountains, rivers, and earth. It's just mountains, rivers, and earth. There are no extra waves or sprays. Don't grasp for something in addition to what it is that you are experiencing right now. Experience it 100%. Not in this position, not in this posture of complacency. It's like, I'm already fine, which is just a thought. Or the thought is, behind this display is like my true essence. There's this very strange thing in this in Dogen's discussion of this. I find it strange. I've been sitting with this for many years. So he's quoting again some ancient Zen master. Therefore, an ancient has said, if a person knows the mind, there isn't an inch of ground on the whole earth. We should know that when we know the mind, the whole of heaven crashes down and the entire earth is rent asunder. Or, when one knows the mind, the whole earth gets 3 inches thicker.
I didn't get that last thing you just said.
Or when one knows the mind, it's another, either the heaven crashes and the earth is torn asunder, or when one knows the mind, the whole earth gets 3 inches thicker. Heaven and earth is the cosmos, right? It's like the physical realm, and Dogen seems to say, when you know the mind, you are liberating yourself from grasping things as things, this physical realm. They become appearances. Everything becomes appearance. Not unreal, like, delusional and the reality is behind it. No, the mountains are just mountains, but they are appearances. As he likes to say, the mountains are walking. They are dynamic. They're dynamic in themselves, it's like boulders coming down that gave our town its name. But they're also dynamic just in our perceptual realities. Like if you notice that when you walk and you watch the mountains, they're bouncing around. They're not static. Like it's like our mind edits that out because we think they're static. They're bouncing around. You're changing perspective, like they're moving with you. You know, Dogen says in the Mountains and Rivers Sutra, he says, if you know your own walking, your own dynamism, you know the mountain's walking. Nothing is static. Everything is appearance. Completely alive and moving. As your own mind. And the earth is getting 3 inches thicker. Is raised 3 inches, you know. What is he saying there? I think there's, like, I have different ideas about this, but one is, when you realize this mind, you are fully inhabiting form. You're not saying, oh, form is just this display and I'm this real, essential, spiritual being behind it, you know, that will merge with the universal consciousness eventually. You are actually fully there. It's like the earth is meeting you more. The form is more real. You're showing up. You're stepping and the earth is meeting you. You're dealing with things and the things are alive, just the way you are alive. I was doing a Qigong practice with my teacher and he was showing me a point by the ankles, and it's like, it's sort of a magical point. It's like, if you bring attention to it, it feels like your whole body gets sort of like, your whole body gets kind of like energized from below. It's like, you feel like a tree, like, and we were experimenting with this, and he and I were talking about it, and he said it's like walking on water, like Jesus. It's like you feel you're like lifted up above the earth, but you feel more grounded. This very strange feeling. So I immediately remembered this line. It's like, oh, the earth is 3 inches thicker. But the feeling in that for me was, when I first experienced this, is like, on the one hand, it was a kind of detachment. It's like I didn't feel as heavy. And on the other hand, I was rooted into the earth more at the same time. When we don't step back, as Dogen says, when we don't step back from the form into the field, we're just thrown around by these forms. We're just one among these other forms, and it's like, it's like a jungle of form, and it's like you need a machete to get through it. It's like, Well, when you step back and you realize this here now experiential field as your mind, as the mind, it's like it is a liberation, and it's also a fuller entry into it. Now you are free to actually deal with all these forms, not as an obstacle, but as an expression of your aliveness. So, now listen to it in this way. what is Buddha? This here now mind is Buddha.